Here's something you might want to share with your children, particularly if they're around 5 or 6, 7 years of age, right? Because I'll share with you all something that I was aware of when I was right around 6 years of age, because I remember this. And that was using, you know what a quad function is. You know, math has functions. Using a log scale, the function of log scales, the function of a quad, right? And the function of an exponent. And then you tie that into acceleration, okay, and torque speed between pulling soul fragments in to experience one, eternal unconditional love through their heart and their soul, and the acceleration of fracturing souls. One is going faster, one is going slower. That's a torque speed differential between polarity integration and the speed at which an AI is fracturing souls. Now imagine you're 6 years of age doing that map read from the center point from which it all began as one, across an entire universe and galactic template in the lines of communication between all the seeded races that are communicating with each other. I know. That's why we had to put an end to it once and for all. I know. That's actually, that's why, what's his name? Lovey-Joy Conjoy put up a short little blurb with, I forget his name, but he says he's a channeler. Banishers. And he talked about how there are simultaneous, if you will, simultaneously. Notice my hands go like this, right? Experience is being experienced simultaneously by all the different operators operating their vehicles, right? Based on vibration and frequency, that are experiencing the realities that they're experiencing by virtue of the energy that they're using to experience it with, based on the gain of function of the frequency modulation between what? Magnets. The torque speed. All right. So when you're experiencing being mated as one, as monopole, I'm experiencing eternity. See? So that makes it easy to do the math because the math is built in. Right? And so you can imagine what that was like at 16 years of age, and you're aware of that. You know, in 1957. Right? And so you realize you're surrounded by a whole lot of folks that you realize that are held captive to what's held in memory that doesn't serve them. Right? And those are the bioplasma libraries that are held in records that have been altered by alters as a result of memory wipes and reprogramming in order to keep feeding the same AI. And why it was quarantined. As a result of code transfers and how fast those code transfers take place. Okay, which is essentially, instead of experiencing God seed to connect to the one, you're experiencing demon seed, upon which the wrong seal that launched the war in heaven. So you wouldn't want to have to revisit that again, would you? Much in the same way I was sharing when a fire captain said to me one afternoon after we put something that was burning out with water, right? Fire water, the relationship between molecules of thermal gradients is the ignition point, the point of origin. See, most firefighters that have ever done fire investigations can go back, actually, and this, I'll leave out the quantum mapping system because this is what I can tell everybody that works in structural firefighting, right? But it's not fighting fire. Are you weaponized against the spirit of fire? No, I am the spirit of fire. So I use water to put out fire when it's getting too hot. Hot and cold water worlds, right? And this is actually extremely painful. When I think about not only all the fires that I've been on, right, but all those that have lost their homes, and all those that have suffered injuries, all those that have suffered disharmony, anxiety, stress on their neurons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And so we know why this is, right, is to keep all these libraries running, all this illusion running, which is based on phantom finite light, which is dead light, instead of living eternal light, which is living eternal love, which simply means you're just running fake timelines. And so this makes an easy read between RAM and no RAM, or memory and no memory. What's held in memory that's being held captive by a librarian that's represented by finite light. Right? So that's why it loves to loop and keep repeating the same patterns, the same geometric sound patterns of light. So the waves are distorted. That's why if you go look at all the stuff that's on all the YouTube stuff and how the language is formatted to trigger and produce negative magnetic space experiences, right? And the way that the language or the letters, which is represented by the numbers and the energy, right? And so this is Atenea Wargamer. Is the language that it uses, the formatting of the language with consciousness. Okay? Because of the reversal currents through the neurolinguistic programming of what's already held in memory by virtue of what children put into memory, how the language is related to numbers. Right? Yeah. So, anyway, we're ending it, and that's the great stuff. That's what I share with others because it's what we know, the knowing.